All right, guys. Good to see everyone in here, but welcome. Really excited to have Nick Scott from GT Stats on tonight. So welcome, Nick.
Hey Luke. Hi everyone.
Yeah, fantastic. So just a quick one. So I'm Luke Bourgeois. I'm a former pro, so played professionally on tour for 13 or so years. Co-founder of Voyager, and also I lead our program, academy program at Olympic Park. And again, super excited to have Nick, obviously the founder of GT Stats, also known as the analytics guru from some of the press that's been coming out. Um, Again, I know our academy players will know Nick. He started working at the academy for the back 6 months of the year. Been working in the past with a lot of pros, some Aussie pros like Jordan Thompson, and probably since the middle of last year, Thanasi Kokkinakis, who has been setting the world on fire. Obviously, amazing results from Thanasi, winning his first tour event, now Grand Slam champion, which is amazing work there, Nick. So a testament to what you've been able to do.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, which is awesome. And probably again, we're going to cover some of the work that Nick's done with Tanasi, but really first answer the question we often hear is when is sort of analytics appropriate? Obviously, when do we sort of look to start? When can we get started with this? And I know obviously you're quite strong on this, and so am I, being a big believer in what you can measure, you can improve. It's really around when you start playing competitive tennis. So what I'll do there, Nick, I know this is something you're super passionate about. I'll throw it over to you.
Okay, thanks Luke. All right, everybody.
Fantastic.
Thank you for coming along. Thank you, Luke, for um, the opportunity to present to you all some of what we've been doing with Thanasi Kokkinakis, as well as what we've been doing with Voyager over the last 6 months or so. Um, I thought I'd run through a few things tonight. Um, First of all, we're going to be looking at our relationship with Thanasi, and oops, we are GT, or me as part of GT. We're part of Thanasi's team. So Thanasi has two coaches. He has a strength and conditioning coach, and he also has us doing all his analytics. What we've done with Thanasi is that we've changed the language behind how he operates. Rather than talking about errors and winners, we talk about rally length and patterns of play and player profile. And we'll be talking about that tonight, and also how it relates to Voyager players, all developing players. We're going to be having a look at some junior match analysis. So don't worry, for you Voyager Academy players, it's not your matches. It'll actually be from Tarbes over in France, the 14s over there. We'll be having a look at what some players are doing in 12s and 14s there. We'll finish off with player development through Voyager and GT, and we'll have some Q&A at the end. Now, please note, everybody, that what we do with Thanasi is it's not just for professional players. All right, this is part of learning how to play tennis. This is not just tennis. Is, yes, it's a lot of hitting forehands, backhand serves, etc. But to learn how to play, you need to understand your patterns of play, your profile of play. It's not just for elite players either, and it's not just for 14's age group and up. Part of learning how to play, this is part of learning how to play tennis at all levels. Once you're a competitive player, it's really important to try and understand what your patterns of play are. Luke and I both come from an era where we probably played more than people do now. It's critical to be able to relate what you do on the match court to what you do on the coaching court. All right, so it's critical to understand this sort of stuff. But first of all, we'll just run through what we did as part of Team Thanasi. Now, there is a preparation phase, so we do analyse his opponents. We provide reports to his coach, and we also run through it with him. But the bulk of our job is to review, review, review. And what we're reviewing is his past matches. So I've already reviewed his Australian Open, his both the Adelaide International tournaments, what he did based on what he did last year. So we measure it against what he did last year. What we don't talk to him about are winners and errors. And this is how we're changing the language with Thanasi. It's not about winners and errors. He's actually not interested in winners and errors, and we don't want to talk to him about winners and errors. Slightly anecdotal, you would think that Thanasi would want to know about his percentage won on first serve. He doesn't. All right? And we don't want him to know, because if a rally goes for 24 shots and it was on his first serve was not responsible for winning that point. And maybe some junior players, Luke, can relate to Thanasi's answer or Thanasi's statement that sometimes you'll look at the screen at the end of a set, having won the set 6-2, and he wins 92% on first serve. His first instinct is, how am I going to keep that up? So it's really not something that is productive for him to look at. So instead, what we look at are his rally lengths and his patterns of play, and how he executed at in certain patterns that we talk about. For those academy players out there, you'll know what I mean when I talk about his profile at 135, 246, and 7+. Now, I understand that not everybody will understand what I'm talking about. Luke, I know, uses this when he...
Yeah, I think it's important to go through as well, to actually, for those that don't know what this means, because it's a really important part of being able to articulate and with clarity exactly what it is, what we're looking to do on each point.
So it's really important. We rather than talk to Thanasi about serve here, hit there, we're talking to him about his profile at different rally lengths, and we call them 135, 246, and 7+. So to go through exactly what that means, it basically denotes the rally length of a point. So 1 and 3 and 5 are the server's shots. All right, so the serve, return comes back, and then shot 3. If it goes beyond that, they might approach the net after shot 3 and put a volley away. That's shot 5. Now, on the ATP Tour, amongst professional players, 50% of points are 1s, 3s, 5s combined. All right. Only 20% are the returners' points, 2, 4, or 6. And in both professional tennis and developing junior tennis, we call this a building phase or a neutralizing phase. All right. It's rare for points to be won in this area on the ATP Tour. 7+, which is the longer rallies, account for about 30% of the ATP Tour. Please don't think that just because 246 is 20% that it should be ignored, because I'm not going to finish points in 246 on shot 2, which is the return 4 or 6. All of these need to be developed in pros, in elite players, in just starting out players. On the WTA, interesting to note that the benchmark for 135 is around 50% as well. Some players are higher, some players are lower, and that's okay. This is all part of profiling. But so long as we understand what 135 is, it goes to rally length. The reason it's 7+ is because once you get to shot 7 and beyond, usually the server's advantage is over, and then it's into who can create the best pattern of play to win the point. So I'll just give you a video example of what we're talking about there. So a 1 might look something like this. I'll just get rid of that. So quite obvious what a 1 is. I think a lot of people who watched Thanasi over the summer would realise that there were a lot of those. A 3 something like that. And a 5, no, it won't be Thanasi. Is something like that. Now, that was from Tarbes in France, I'm hoping I pronounced that correctly, Jan. If you're in the room, um,
Le Petit A. It's
Le
the
Petit
most
Art.
prestigious. Yeah, yeah, the
Table.
most.
Table les Petits Arts in France.
There we go.
Knew
There it
he
is.
was there somewhere.
The Frenchman is. Yeah, it's the most prestigious under 14s tournament in the world. So a lot of the greats have won that tournament, including our own Andrew Thomas. I think I saw a little flash there. Senior performance coach at Olympic Park. Did I see a little thumbnail there that popped up, Nick?
I was going to come back to that, mate, but I'll show you now. There we are.
There it is.
I think Tomo's in the house too, isn't he?
I think I did see him jump on also, which is
I
great to see.
saw him jump on, and there he is winning.
I'm in the house.
Yeah. All right, so there he is, Voyager's own Andrew Thomas, winning the European equivalent of the Orange Bowl in 2004. I just thought I'd embarrass him slightly.
Is that the only Australian winner too, Tomo? He's gone.
It's the only Australian winner I think I saw, yes.
Yeah, I think he is.
All right, so when we're talking about 135, 2, 4, 6, 7 plus, this is very different to what the TV will show you, the audience, you, the player, or even the professional. The TV stats, they're all about the final shot. They're all about what happened at the end of the point. So who played the shot? Thanasi Kokkinakis. It was his forehand and it was a winner. All right.
Right.
In the case of that 3-shot rally, that was what happened. That was how the TV would measure that particular stat. Instead, with 135 analytics, there's a story behind it. So who was serving at the start of the point? That was Thanasi. How long was the rally? It was 3 shots. Who won the point? Thanasi Kokkinakis. And if you start thinking of a point in that way, which is the way we talk to Thanasi about it, the way we've talked to Voyager Academy players about it, if you know what the starting point was, what the ending point was, and then the story is how many shots it was, you have a much greater understanding of what your profile might be. All right, and I'm going to get to profile in a little while. If you have any questions about 135, please, we'll have some Q&A at the end and we'll discuss it. So just to give you an example, this was Thanasi's win rate at those particular rally lengths. So when he was the server, he was winning 79% of points that finished on shot 1, shot 3, or shot 5. Now that's really high. Okay, this is last year's numbers, by the way. So in 2021, and this was part of his review at the end of the year, he was winning 44% as the returner on 246. When he built to 7 plus, he was only winning 43%. All right. Now, for those of you who watch Thanasi play, you know that he has good 135 numbers, partly because of his serve. Everybody talks about he has a big serve. He actually doesn't. He doesn't often serve over 200 k's an hour. What he does that juniors should really follow is he hits spots brilliantly. All right. So in January, from the 10 singles matches he played in January, 135 went up 1%, 246 went up 1%. His 7 plus profile was the big improver. Okay. And this was something that was part of his review. Remember, I talked about the review earlier in December, where we wanted him to try and win more 7 plus points. So everybody knows Thanasi as someone who can, do. So everybody knows Thanasi as someone who can do this, as someone who does this. His 3s profile is very good, gets the return and plays a brilliant inside-in forehand. We've all seen these. What he's been able to improve, however, are his longer rally numbers. And he's been able to do that by using his cross-court backhand and then sometimes his down-the-line backhand. So he has delayed using his forehand inside out and inside in. He used to run around them a lot more. Now he's doing things like this. Using his backhand as more of a weapon to set points up. and then get around onto the forehand. Right. And again. See there, he played several backhand crosses before he went inside in. My favourite one, which I have to show, is saving match point against Marin Cilic. However, that's where he's been able to improve his game in that 7+ rally length. All right, now I'm going to move away from Thanasi in just a sec, down to something that might be a bit more relatable. But what I want you to understand is that Thanasi's profile of being a really good short rally player on his own serve really doesn't explain how he's been able to improve into a title-winning player on the ATP Tour, and his ranking's gone from 171 up to 94. He's been able to improve because of this number here. The longer rallies, he's been able to stay in them because he's fitter, but he's also been able to stay in them because he's using his backhand well. All right, I've another little poll here. Because I know that, I know that everybody, there are a lot of juniors who worry a bit about how many points they're winning rather than the bigger picture. So I just want to know what everybody thinks. What percentage of points did Thanasi win in January over all 10 matches? So in his 10 matches, he won... In his 10 matches, he won 8 out of 10. So 80% of matches. What percentage of points did he need to win those 8 matches? So this is just a little general knowledge of what happens on a tennis court. So I'll just let everybody answer that for just one sec. All right, looks as though I've got enough answers there. A couple of people said 60, 57, fair few at 54. The top answer was 51%, which, by the way, is correct. All right. He only won... Go on, Luke.
Small margins, isn't it?
Very, very small margins. I showed that point against Marin Cilic where he saved match point. In the match against John Isner, there were 222 points played. John and Thanasi each won 111. But Thanasi came out on top in the third set tiebreaker. It's very small margins. The reason I point this out is because, like a lot of juniors, Thanasi last year would play a set where he'd lose 7-6, but he dominated the whole set, lost at 7-6, he'd go on to lose the second set 6-2. Happened twice last year. And he remembered that going into the match against Vukic, the match against Rinderknecht, where he lost the first set in a tiebreak, had all the break points, but went on to win the match. It's something that he's improved a lot. All right, let's move on again. So we've already explained what Tarbs is, and we've already embarrassed Mr. Thomas. Other winners, for example, of the tournament, and I know I'm going to get roasted for my pronunciation, but Bianca Andreescu, Daria Gavrilova, as a Russian, not as an Australian, Frances Tiafoe, Rafael Nadal, Richard Gasquet have all won this tournament. It's for juniors, it's a 14s tournament. So I have a bit of a question for everybody, just out of interest. I've discussed a 1-3-5 profile. Serve, return comes back, shot 3 into shot 5. What I'd like to know, if you can figure this one out, is the best 1-3-5 profile. So Thanasi is strong in this area, but the best 1-3-5 profile, and I'll load another poll, came from which match that I've displayed on the screen there? Was it the Australian Open Boys Final? I'll just exit that one. So, in poll, sorry, I just right. Was it a player from the Australian Open boys final in the 18s, the Australian Open girls final, the TARB boys final, it was a 14s age group, or the girls final at TARB? The 135, the best 135 profile of a player there. Luke, I hope you put your vote in.
I would if I could, but I can't. I'm staring at the same screen as you. So.
All right, okay.
Yeah. But I got a fair idea on what I think it is.
All right. It looks like most people have gone for the Australian Open boys final.
Having seen that, I don't know if I'd agree with that. And if anyone saw the end of that match, you might know why. That was an actual brutal match where one of the boys couldn't finish because they're having such long, drawn out points.
Okay, so most people have gone for the boys final. Luke, your answer?
Oh no, I can't give it away. I think I already know, mate.
Okay. It was in fact this young lady. It was the girls' final. Her name is Julia Stusek. She only won 52% of points, but 57% of her points on serve finished on shot 1, shot 3, or shot 5. What I'm trying to point out to everyone is that you don't have to be the biggest server. In fact, I'm going to show you some footage of Julia in a minute, where her serve is not the most technically wonderful thing in the world, but she certainly knows what her profile is. She certainly knows what her patterns of play are. So just have a look here. So this is Julia down this end, about to serve. I want you to also keep in mind that the score is 15-40, first game. And again, same serve.
Technique on that serve. Wow.
Yeah.
The old expression of what's more important is how to hit the ball or where you hit it. Yeah, wow.
Right. So she's a grade fives player. She doesn't have the big serve of a Thanasi Kokkinakis. She is a really good fives player. She knows what her profile is. She knows what she's trying to achieve. She'll play shots. She'll hit a spot on serve, and then she'll put her shot 3 into the open court, and then come to net to volley. Now that also carries over into her. I'll just go. That also carries over into her sevens play, so into her longer rally play. So if you have a look at this, she's also looking from, she stays very close to the baseline. Eventually gets to net. Pretty regulation volley, Luke. Happy with that?
Yeah, really well structured point, isn't it?
Right.
Simple,
So
simple. You can see she's got a clear plan, knows exactly what she's trying to do, and she's run that play so many times that they just know what's coming. It's
exactly.
Really...
She's quite obviously not just practiced her volleys, but she's quite obviously practiced how she's going to get to net behind which shot.
Yeah.
So she's practiced the link between each shot in order to get to that volley. And by the way, she was the champion of the event. And
I think before you press on there, Nick, before you press on there as well, I think that's a really important point there to make is the idea of the sequence of shots.
Yep.
You can see there, it's I know for me personally as well, it's one of the things I really try to do with my sessions is actually not working in isolation. It's how you can actually link those combinations together. And again, pros, again, someone like a Roger Federer, I know personally firsthand how much they practice their sequence. It's not just coming out in mindless hitting. it's understanding that when you hit the ball here, these are where you receive it from, and these are your likely options. And literally, it's that idea of just rinse and repeat over and over and over until you can obviously start executing it more often than not. Because it's like tennis is a game of chess, and we see with points like that why.
Yep, agreed. We'll just run through a few highlights of what happened there, because all the players in these finals had very different profiles. It's something they've developed. This is Julia's opponent. She's 12, turning 13 this year. Very good player, technically very good. Over the 7+ rally lengths was very good, but I'm sure her coach would probably know that her threes, she made an error. So every time the rally finished in 3 shots, she made an error. So that's something that she'll work on. So for example, she's got a very good 7+ record, but at threes, she's picking the wrong option or just going for too much. Right? Very good little player though. So we'd say that her 135 profile could really be improved, and we can check both her analytics and the video in this case to get that information. The runner-up in the boys, he won the first set and lost the next 2 sets. He was excellent on threes. So his 135 profile was very, very good. All right. The problem was, as soon as it came to 7+, his success rate went down quite significantly. He's playing against a kid who's got a very good 7+ game, both attacking and defending. And unfortunately, I don't want to try and pronounce his name, but he really went for too much on some of these 7+ points. Interestingly, he tried to change the direction of the ball on all shots except one in that rally. So whilst he's doing very, very well on his 135 profiling, as soon as the rally goes to 7+, Luke, would you say he's probably being impatient?
Temperament comes into play, doesn't it?
Yep. So going for the wrong shot at the wrong time. So he really needs to develop his 7+ profile in order to improve. As I said, he did go down in 3 sets. His opponent, on the other hand, not only was a great defender and won points because his opponent was making errors, but Mr. Bugard, both of these boys, by the way, 13 years old. And this is how Thies Bugard won a lot of his points. See him following it in there, putting pressure on his opponent to make a pass. Now, he won that match in 3 sets, and his 7+ was his best rally length. And his profile on 7+ is obviously very, very good. It's something he's practiced.
And I think that's something to look for there. Again, when you see people that have the right information and they understand their game, it's what's possible at an early age. I mean, for those kids to be 13 years and of age and playing that level, it goes to show you. Again, tennis can be a simple sport when you've got clarity and you're putting the hours in to really practice what needs to be practiced.
Absolutely. When we talk about traditional player profiles, I'm sure everybody on the call has heard things like this. John Millman is a grinder, right? So we would traditionally tag him as a grinder. He wins points by forcing his opponents back in the court, hits the ball deep, lots of 7+ rallies rather than winning on 135, and we class him as a grinder traditionally. Ash Barty, you might class her as an aggressive baseliner. But what do these terms actually mean? What does it mean when we say Ash Barty is an aggressive baseliner? What does it mean when we say Thanasi Kokkinakis is a big serve, big forehand? I've already demonstrated that his backhand was a lot better right throughout January. So these sorts of terms, when we're trying to relate them to junior players, don't really mean much. They're either too general or they don't actually mean anything. What does grinder actually mean? So what we're trying to do through this process of profiling and to educate juniors on their own profiles is at different rally lengths. So we're trying to create a profile at all levels of their game. So they're 135. What's their 135 profile? Is that something that needs improving by hitting more spots on their serve? Their 246 profile. Are they going for too much on return of serve? And what's their 7+ profile? All right, so what you've seen from Thanasi is that he's always had a very, very good 135 profile. In fact, the commentators talk about it all the time. He's got a great serve, great forehand. But as we've seen, his backhand probably won him the tournament in Adelaide. All right, you've got to be able to develop all three. Okay. Now, again, just because Thanasi has a great forehand or a great serve, different players have different patterns that they use in different rally lengths. All right. So not everybody will use the same shots at the same time. Not everybody will have a great 135 profile compared to 7+. But all of them need to be developed. I can't make this point any more strongly. Just because longer rallies account for less points in tennis, they will win matches, as Thanasi has demonstrated, as Ash Barty demonstrated in the Wimbledon final last year. All right? All three profile rally lengths need to be developed. On the subject of Ash Barty, so Ash is very good. She has a very good 135 profile. You would have seen over summer. Her serve hits a lot of very good spots, and she's able to put the ball away in 3. This is from the Wimbledon final rather than from the Australian Open final. But she's got better at this. She's actually improved her 135 profile. That's just a 3-shot pattern from Ash. Oops, that's Thanasi. And another one where she serves wide and then the forehand to the open court. All right? Now, let's keep in mind Ash Barty is 5'6". She's not a very tall girl, and for someone who is not very tall, she hits spots the same way the girl in Tab hits her spots on serve to set up her 5s. Ash sets up her 3s. All right? But what about Ash's other rally length profiles?
Before you move on, I think that's a really good point. Knowing a lot of people are actually watching this, that obviously you look at that 135 profile, you automatically think they're serve dominant. It's a really key thing there, because I know there's a lot of people in here that I'd like to see win more of those points. It's, again, coming back to that really simple concept. If you can actually have that clarity of, this is the spot that I hit, I get this ball, and this is my next play, you can really start winning more of those points. And that's one of the big game changers that you see with these top players. It's their frequency to do that. It's obviously a really, really key thing. It's not always about power.
And it's also their ability to move on from the previous point, have the clarity of what they need to achieve based on the score for the next point, whether they're the server or the receiver, and be able to execute again, even if they've made an error on the previous point.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too. I know, obviously touching on sort of, you've mentioned that a couple of times there with demeanor and temperament. We're really fortunate at our academy. We had Wally Masur that joined us yesterday. So he came out and spent some time with some of our young athletes. And I posed that question to him. Obviously, we've had some great players that have come through there. And one of them that we talked about was Alex Diminar. Just asked that question of what really separates. And again, we're probably moving off topic here a little bit, but maybe one of Anthony Ross's sports psych ones. But it was really what separates them. And it was literally what he said is those kids. It was just their mindset. It was the idea of, stay in the moment, obviously not get angry, be able to keep clear of their thought process, they could keep a nice, clear mind and be able to problem solve, because it just really is the most important element. I mean, obviously what we're talking about here is super important, but again, I wanted to stress that on top of what Wally sort of had to say to the team yesterday, because it really is a key thing, because we're not pro level too. There's a lot more that starts racing through your mind, and we do know how busy your mind can get when you're playing matches.
Yeah, there's also the issue, Luke, of if you are better able to focus in on the score, the point you're about to play based on the score, and you have a clear mind as to what you're trying to achieve, you'll be far more successful. So just on Ash's 7+ profile, everybody talks about Ash's slice backhand. And we know it's brilliant. And a lot of players on there's no player on the WTA Tour who plays a slice backhand like her. She is asked, her coach is asked about it a lot. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who are trying to copy it. Her backhand is part of her 7+ profile in the same way that Thanasi's is, but it's a totally different style of backhand. Just have a look at how she uses it in these 2 points. So she'll try to neutralize Pliškova's big serve. Sorry, we have to go through the fault. Neutralize now.
There we go.
Right. Now that looks totally different to what Thanasi does. It's just but the only difference really is that Ash is slicing her backhand and Thanasi's coming over the top of his. It's a different profile in the same rally length. 7+. Ash is using a slice backhand cross court to open up her forehand inside in. Just another, that's not her. Right? So it is really, really, it's critical to understand that different players will use different patterns at different rally lengths. And it's important for players to know what their profile is, but not only that, how they can develop that profile, how they can develop their game. All right? So it's not just about, I'm really good at 1-3-5, or with Thanasi, for example, I'm really good at 1s and 3s, and I'll base my game around that. Unless he's trying to improve his return patterns, his 7+ patterns, he won't be as successful. So, just to summarize a couple of things for developing players, this is not just for pros, all right? Developing a profile is something that needs to happen from an early age and early stage, all right? Even if it's, how are we trying to develop your 3s? By hitting spots on serve, okay? It's not just about rolling serves in and then getting into a 7+. You need to be able to develop a profile that is reflected in 3 different rally lengths, the 1-3-5, 2-4-6 and 7+. And I know that, Luke, you've been using the terminology of 3s and 5s, 2s, 4s and 6s at the academy.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are sort of familiar with the serve +1 or the return +1. I just, to me, this, again, it's all about that clarity. It's how you can articulate and clearly convey a message. It's just a super simple way that everybody understands. And I think it's a really key thing from that perspective. Also, too, when you're actually working on the development side of it as well, it's again, really, really clear. I know we've been focusing on a lot about being able to understand your game style and obviously what your profile is and how to really work towards it. Again, it's just, to me, I find that's what good coaches do really, really well. It's just their communication. It's just another tool to help you cut through all the noise.
All right. So the other thing is that what we've done with Thanasi and what we've done with academy players at Voyager is what we can measure, we can improve. So if you're measuring what you do, you can improve it. In the same way we were able to measure Thanasi's rally lengths and what he was doing at 7+, what he was not doing well, he's been able to improve that in the Australian summer, and I think the results speak for themselves. So for when we're working with professional players, information delivery for a pro is pretty easy because matches are recorded. Okay. The problem with juniors is that there's not necessarily any footage. We've been able to solve a bit of that problem at the academy. We will actually be at Voyager UTR on the 27th of February. We will be filming some matches there, and there'll be more information coming out about this soon. And we are filming matches, camera on the back fence.
Yeah, I might jump in here, mate. So obviously, for those that know Nick, I mean, again, he's been working with us for the past sort of 6 months last year, and again this year. We'll still have that opportunity for you to get it filmed at the academy, but also too, if you're not, we are hosting a UTR event for 7+ on the 27th. So Nick will be attending there along with Dr. Anthony Ross, our sports psych, and actually Chris Bates, our college recruiter. So it's going to be a really, really good event there that we're looking forward to getting everyone involved in. So opportunity there, as well as at the academy. Even if you're not part of it, it's something you might be able to look at. So you can definitely reach out, but I will send some information later on. But I feel like this is a really important part. I'm not sure if you got a next click on the next slide there, Nick, but again, good opportunities here, because I think there's more to that than just the footage, as we've talked about. Is we also have, this is something that I'm really big on, is the app. So part of what Nick's been able to develop at GT is just a stats app, which again links into everything that we've been talking about. And I know for our parents, it's a really clear thing. We spoke about it again recently. It's how to really be a good parent. This is something that I think is a really, really good tool, because not only is it going to provide the coaches and players clear information, because so often we hear, I mean, I didn't hit my forehand great, or hit too many double faults. This is not only a great way for parents to really be able to provide great feedback to coaches, because as we mentioned earlier, we can't always get out there to watch. And so that's where you can actually compile a really big database over time to see, and it's something you can actually send through the app. You basically click it. I mean, again, there's I'm sure, Nick, you're happy to train people like you have in the past. I'm sure you're happy to train people how to really use that. But
we'll help you use it. We'll train people on how to use it. First generation parents, don't worry. It's fairly easy. There's a little bit of help involved from us, but it's well worth it. One of the biggest problems that I think coaches have these days, it's not like being a soccer coach or an AFL coach, where they're always at the game. They're always there. It's just not something that a coach can do or can be expected to be at the match of every player they coach. So it's really important because, and I know as a coach, it's how did you go? Badly. We need as coaches to be able to get the information on what was good, what was not so good, what can be improved related to profiling, all right, so that you can get the most out of your next session on the training court. Review, I think I said before.
yeah, definitely. And that's what obviously we love the relationship, because it's allowing out, but I think it's a huge advantage to our athletes, because I mean, something as simple as we know watching them, if they're not winning enough threes or making too many errors on the court, it's just something so simple that you can actually really target and identify in your game. And for me, you can use it for anyone. So we'll definitely send through more information there. So if anyone is keen, happy to share that with you.
Yeah, there'll be an email, I think, come from Luke in the next few days about that. Just in the meantime, Luke, is there anything else you wanted to mention about?
No, but I think if anyone does have any questions, obviously happy to if you want to use that chat group, chat room down the bottom there. While we've got Nick here as well, because it's obviously I know Nick jumped straight into it tonight, but obviously the work that they've been able to do with Thanasi, you can see how sometimes those slight little changes can make such a big impact, in your game, and really help you accelerate your development.
Yeah, I think the important thing to note is that it isn't just about how to serve, how to play forehands, how to play backhands. It is so much more. Playing tennis is so much more than that. I'm a bit concerned, Luke, that photo of Thanasi standing next to me, his profile, supposedly he's an inch shorter than me, but he looks an inch taller there. I don't know whether that's because he's growing or I'm shrinking.
Probably both.
Probably both, indeed. He probably
Yeah.
stands up a fair bit straighter than me.
Mm.
If there are any questions, please type them into the chat box. I'm always open to receiving anything from anybody, to answer any questions.
I mean, I guess why it's there. Again, it's a really, really good sort of thing. I actually love the fact. I mean, I know everyone sort of sees Thanasi and what he's been able to do. I love the fact that we go back and look at, say, the under 14 girls, and you actually really see it, because as you touched on, so often when we watch matches on TV, what we see is the highlights reel, and I know that's how a lot of kids watch tennis these days. And those short points, they're literally not making it. And as we saw from the numbers, it is literally half of tennis. It's half of the points that are played. Um, there's a lot of points that are won and lost through there. So it really is an important thing to just to, again, get an understanding of, and then spend, when you're on the practice court, spend your time working on those areas.
Yep, and develop all of them. Develop the 7+. Develop the link between 1, 3, and 5. Be able to neutralize through 2, 4, and 6.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think you've obviously did such a thorough job. We're good there. So, guys, probably on that note, then, unless there's any final questions, obviously want to thank Nick for your time tonight and sharing what you've obviously been able to do with Thanasi, because it's obviously great to see someone that's basically, we all know, and so well liked by the Australian public. To see him get back to where we know he belongs, it's fantastic, and hopefully you can keep that rolling.
Looking forward to it. He didn't do so well this morning. I don't know if anybody saw the result, but he lost this morning to Sebastian Korda. So it's on to Acapulco next week, and then he's back for Davis Cup in Sydney on Friday fortnight.
Yeah, exactly. But
we might have to drag him out to the practice courts while he's there.
Yeah, we'll definitely. I would love that. Would absolutely love it. But alrighty, guys. Again, thanks for your time to tune in tonight. Really appreciate it. Look forward to getting to start with this in the coming weeks.
Thank you, everybody, and I'll see you all on the court very soon.
Thanks, guys. Good night.